Starting your own handmade business is a real learning experience. I don't know about you, but I have made a lot of tweaks and adjustments along the journey to where I am now. It's easy to look back and think about what you might do differently, but I'm also a believer that everything happens for a reason. So today, I'll be sharing 3 things that I do not regret doing for my handmade business. Because hey, it got me to where I am today, right? Hi, my name is May Pak, and I help makers, artists, and designers make a living by selling their handmade products online. The first thing I don't regret is that when I was first starting out, I DIY'd all of my own branding. A lot of people will tell you that unless you're a graphic design expert, you should just leave your branding to a professional, right? But here's what they don't tell you. No professional in the entire world can give you a brand that you will love unless you can clearly and accurately communicate your vision for what you want the brand to be. That's actually quite a bit harder than it sounds, especially when you're first starting out. I can tell you that when my business was very new, I tried hiring people to create my branding for me, but because I was pretty inexperienced at the time, I didn't really even know what I wanted. And since I wasn't able to communicate a clear vision to those designers, those projects ultimately failed. At a certain point, I decided to take on all the branding myself. What I didn't realize then was that this actually allowed me to take my time and really explore what I wanted Tiny Hands, my jewelry business, to be. I will admit that this took some soul searching since as a maker, creating a brand vision was way outside of my comfort zone. I mean, your brand vision is more than just a logo and some brand colors, okay? It's deeply understanding who your customers are and then developing the aesthetic and the experience that will appeal to them. This process of learning and exploring is exactly what helped me grow Tiny Hands from a hobby to a $1 million business. By DIYing all of the branding myself, and we're talking promo material, packaging, even web design, I was able to adapt my business and actively shape it into what it is today. It only took me multiple rebrands over the years. Now, I will put a little disclaimer here. Branding is important, and for your business, it should always be presentable, right? So hiring a designer is definitely not a bad thing, especially if you don't feel necessarily that you have an eye for design or if you don't know your way around design software. In fact, if you can find a designer who will work with you and help you develop your vision, I'm all for it. But there is no need to spend a ton of money here. I know some agencies will charge thousands of dollars for a branding project, and you almost always need to know exactly what you want ahead of time for a project like that to be successful. When it comes right down to it, don't be afraid to DIY your own branding. While good design is important, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, especially when you're just starting out. The new business that my husband and I started, selling print-on-demand art, we're using branding that I came up with. It's nothing sophisticated, and that business made $900,000 in sales in 2020. The second thing I haven't regretted is doing giveaways. There is a pretty common myth floating around, and it says that instead of growing a quality audience who engages with you and your products, giveaways only attract freebie seekers. I found that this is only true if you do giveaways too often. If you spread them out and you do them unpredictably, you won't run the risk of training people to only visit your shop when you're giving them something for free. Personally, giveaways were one of the few things that helped me grow my business in the very beginning. I would do a giveaway like once every few months on my site and on my social media accounts. This strategy was really helpful in helping me build up both my followers and my email subscribers. And in fact, many people who found me through my giveaways from many years ago have stayed on my email list, like for more than 7 years for some people, and they continue to buy from me year after year. Plus, giveaways are an extremely cost-effective way to grow your audience. The only real expense is making your prize and then shipping it. And if you do it strategically, like with my giveaway funnel, you can even make some sales along the way. So between the extra audience engagement, getting a few extra sales, and how easy and fun it is to do, I have found that giveaways are a lot of fun and an effective way to reach more people, as long as you don't do them too often. They're more than worth it. The third thing I don't regret is doing craft shows. Now, if you saw my other video called Things I'll Never Do Again, you may remember that I listed craft shows as one of them. But even though I definitely don't want to do them again, I also don't regret doing them. Don't worry, I'll explain. Doing craft shows was very, very rarely ever profitable for me, and I did a ton of them. That was a bit discouraging at the time, but looking back, I can see that helped my business in ways I didn't expect. For example, they helped me build a loyal audience. They may not have bought from me at the show itself, but those people that saw me at the show did follow me on social media, or they signed up for my email list and eventually bought from me later on. For example, the bulk of the shows I did was in Minneapolis, and after doing shows consistently for a few years there, I started seeing my online sales to Minneapolis residents go up. Craft shows also provided really great real-life feedback. I was able to see how people reacted to both my brand and my products, and that kind of instant, honest feedback is basically impossible to get online, right? So by observing people's behavior, I kind of quickly learned that people either thought my jewelry was super unique and the coolest thing ever, or they thought it was way too weird and wondered, why would anyone ever buy it? The negative reactions were always hard to swallow, of course, but seeing how polarizing my products were to people indicated to me that I was doing something right. Because my ideal customers loved my products, and those who were not my ideal customers just didn't get it, and that's actually what you want. Speaking of negative reactions, one very unexpected benefit of going to craft shows is that they helped me build a thick skin. Even though it's still not very thick, it is thicker than it was before. And I've definitely heard a lot of comments that weren't exactly nice to hear. You know, people would say things like, your prices are really high, or I could make this myself. And after hearing those things over and over, you eventually kind of get numb to it. That sounds like a bad thing, but in the world of sales and business, having a thick skin means you spend way less time stewing over something someone said and just more time being productive. I will also say that craft shows can bring in really good money. The best shows I've had, I could make a couple of grand in total sales over like a weekend holiday show. And I know that there are handmade businesses out there that make their living from doing just shows. Last, but certainly not least, craft shows are a great opportunity to make friends. I really enjoyed meeting other makers and learning from them, and it's just really nice to connect with other people who are doing the same thing you are. When you're completely online based, it can be really lonely when no one understands why you do what you do, and you have no one to talk about your victories or even your challenges. I've met a lot of cool people over the years from doing shows, and they're so creative, and they just really inspire me so much. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, leave a comment if you have any questions, or I would love to hear from you, things you did in your business in the beginning that you don't regret, and subscribe to my channel for more handmade business tips. Stay on to watch this next video on the screen, where I will share even more tips on how you can take your business to the next level.